to Accelerate Your Wealth, a podcast by Rebecca Robertson, founder and director of Evolution Financial Planning. We hope you enjoy the show, and please feel free to leave us a review. It really does help. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram, or head over to www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk or our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.
Welcome to this week's podcast. 3 reasons why everyone needs a financial plan. Okay, so let me just clarify something about financial planning. In the UK, financial planning isn't a regulated activity, believe it or not. So people can call themselves a financial planner and actually not be qualified. They might have qualifications, so they might have done their exams in the past, but that doesn't mean they're a practicing regulated financial advisor. They might have done that for 5 minutes and decided they didn't want to do it anymore and moved on to something else and still call themselves a financial planner. So I could give up my regulated financial services business tomorrow and still be a financial planner, or my next door neighbour could decide, I've never worked in all my life, but I'm now going to be a financial planner. So there's no regulation around financial planning, which is amazing, right? It's massively surprising, which is why you can get sort of coaches and such like call themselves coaches, but they start stepping into this role of planning. And actually what they tend to do is not. They tend to step into what would be classed as guidance, not advice, not advising like a regulated advisor, but they're giving guidance. And there's really strict regulations around it. And I'm hoping that basically they regulate the financial services, the FCA, Financial Services Authority. They regulate those that are regulated, like myself, but those who are a financial planner or some sort of coach or some sort of mentor, whatever you want to call it, investment coach or whatever, they're not. So no one's monitoring them. But there are people are doing it well. So there are companies, large companies that are doing it well, who understand. I mean, I'm not talking like one-man band kind of people, one-woman band kind of people. I'm talking about large corporate organizations like Octopus, for example, who are putting coaching roles in place, and they're actually doing it in terms of how the regulator wants it. So as that grows, I can see things changing. As soon as it starts, they're talking about, for example, Bitcoin, regulating Bitcoin and such like. So once things start to have a bigger, wider impact on society, that's when the FCA will step in. So I think it's just worth clarifying what financial planning is. And so what it's not is not a regulated activity. So I can talk to my clients. When I talk to my clients, I can talk to them about investments, I can talk to them about pensions, all those kinds of things, and give them regulated advice. But we end up adding value. So financial advisor, the advisor should be adding value by adding in the planning piece. And I do both because I enjoy both, and I think both have a place. It's a bit like a one-stop shop for the client. So what I see time and time again, however, and especially this last week, which is why I'm bringing this podcast up, is how many people need the planning first. So before I can get into the products, because that's all it is, and an advisor, you're advising on products, and those products fulfill a plan. So if you don't know what the plan is, it's a bit like going on holiday, or you're going to go on a road trip, and you think to yourself, I need a car, so I'll get a car, or I'll get a plane, I've got a plane, and you get in the aeroplane, you get in the car, but you don't actually have any of the right tools with you. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how much you're going to need for the holiday. You don't know how much diesel you're going to need. Are you going to make any stops? You're traveling all night, or is it just a few hours? You don't understand what's going on. So you can have these pensions and investments and products in place, but actually you haven't got a plan for them. So financial planning is all about the journey and what you want your life to look like. And my 3 main reasons why everyone needs one, and I find this is so crucial, is the accountability. So with my clients who come on board as an ongoing wealth manager, I look after their assets on their behalf. I do an annual review, and as part of their annual review, I also include their plan. So from their plan piece, it's looking at, okay, we discussed this a year ago, 6 months ago. How is that fitting in? Are we on track? Is everything okay? What's changes have come in? Are we still on track to meet that objective? And that goal might be several different things in their lifetime. It might not just be one particular end goal. So it's having that accountability so that every year you know that someone is keeping you on track. But more than anything, right at the beginning, I find that a lot of people are lost in their way. They can't see the wood for the trees. There's all these different products that they've got and things they've put in place, but they just don't understand how it's all come together. And I love an analogy, and it's a bit like baking a cake. So you've got the eggs, you've got the butter, you've got the baking powder, you've got the flour, but you've got all the ingredients, but you haven't got the actual recipe as to how you're going to bake that cake, right? So what a financial plan does for you is it allows you to bring all those products, all those ingredients together to plan whatever that cake is. What type of cake do you want? So that's the question. Do you want a Victoria sponge, and you haven't got the cream, or you haven't got the jam? Or is it more of a carrot cake and you haven't got enough carrots? So it's working out actually what's in place, what's missing, and building that accountability. Because what that then does, a lot of people say to me, I know I'm spending incorrectly. I know I've got bad habits. I know I should be doing things differently, but I just don't know where to start. So they don't see the wood for the trees. What that then allows with the accountability piece is that once they've got a plan and they have that reality check, they're able to then say, right, I know what I shouldn't be doing right now, and I know how I should be channeling this money. And it allows us to then put sort of boundaries in place, like, going bowling and you're bowling down the alley and you have those buffers along the side. That's what a financial plan can be. It allows you to keep on track. Another analogy there, I'm loving the analogies today, where you're throwing that ball down, not breaking your arm doing it, but giving it a good old try, giving it a good old whack down the alley, and the buffers buff it the ball out of the way so it's not going in the gutter, and allowing you to get that strike to hit those goals. So it's a great fun accountability piece for the initial part as well as the ongoing. So knowing where to start, knowing what you need, or knowing what's missing. It's therefore great for decision making. So when you have decisions that you need to make, or you have milestones that you're about to come up to, you're able to make much clearer decisions. So it might be that you want your children to go to university, and but you want a new car or you want a new horse box. Like, I'd love to get a horse box, but there's other things to pay for. So it's prioritizing, okay, what should I be paying for? Okay, well, I can't buy that now because I need to clear debt first, or I need to build my emergency savings, or I need to put more into my pension first, or it might be there's other things that you're wanting to equate for. I have this one client who has every intention to send her children to university, but based on what her turnover is in her business right now, it won't happen. Her children are like 13, 14, 15. It won't happen. And you sometimes need that reality check to then allow you to make clearer and better decisions. Her answer is, oh, it's okay, I'll take money out of my pension. No, you haven't got a big enough pension to do that. So it's really, really great for decision making. So actually, more of my job is on the financial planning side than it is on the financial advice, but I do spend a lot of my time reviewing people's pensions and existing plans as well, which my team help with. The third and most important that overwraps all of this is less worry. So many people stress and worry about their money. Now, you might be thinking, oh, no, that's people who haven't got any. No, they worry about money as well. But actually, the more money, the more is to deal with. The more money, the more problems. The more money, more tax. More money, what do I do with it? How do I deal with this? What should I be doing with it? And it's also a huge amount of responsibility for people. I speak to a lot of people that inherit money, especially younger millennial women that are inheriting wealth from their parents, and they don't know what to do with it. Like, they don't know where to start. and they're quite educated, and actually they're becoming more and more financially educated, which is amazing, but it still feels very, very overwhelming. And they have great plans. I have quite a few clients that are either moving to Australia or New Zealand at the moment, and then but they're going to come back, and they're paying for things like fertility treatment, which costs a huge amount of money, to fertilize their eggs, and such different decisions that women were making compared to 10 years ago, right? It's a real mixed bag of different people out there. The traditional saving for the university, or saving and putting money aside for future fertility. But all of those things, all of that planning is a key piece. So that's part of the conversation, what I'm having with clients. I'm asking a lot of questions, not those dreamy questions, where do you want to be in 10 years time, but actually the reality. What does that look like? What will happen? What how much do you think you will spend then? What kind of holidays would you have? What would your retirement look like? When do you want that to happen? And I had a great conversation with a client this week where I actually did the advice piece, and I tagged on a planning piece at the end, which was part of the package. And so I reviewed her existing pensions. One was with Aviva and one was with the People's Pension. The People's Pension, we decided to move for their own reasons. I won't go into. It was justifiably the right reason for that client to move them into their other Aviva scheme, and actually not to change the scheme, not to change the underlying funds that are in that scheme. Actually, the performance of that particular fund with Aviva was doing really well. So my recommendation was actually to leave that pension where it was. But what we did is she had other pensions and other investments, and she was also saving a lot into that pension from her salary. So I worked those out on the projections, and she sort of saw herself retiring at more like 67, which was quite a way off. It was over 10 years. But actually, based on what I figured out for her, is that she could actually retire at 60 if she wanted to, which was about 5 years. And it would mean that she would draw on more of her Aviva current workplace pension now, and then she worked very hard, I believe. It was either NHS, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was either NHS, but it was a civil service pension. So she worked very hard, I think maybe with social work or something like that. And she basically had 2 civil service pensions, one which was very good, which kicked in at, I think it was 65 off the top of my head. So she had like this 5-year window where we were going to draw more of the Aviva pension, and then we'd withdraw less, because then she'd have this other pension kick in. And then at 66, she would then have her state pension kick in, so we could then draw less. So actually, over time, it wasn't a case of delaying the Aviva pension. It was a case of drawing on it earlier and then drawing on it less later when the other pensions kicked in. And it meant she could retire in 5 years. And her face when I told her this, and I showed her charts and graphs, her face just was, oh my God, it was just a picture. And she said to me, I'm so glad I come and spoke to you, Rebecca. This is just such a relief. This is just such a great feeling. Thank you so much. I now know what I can do with my money, and I know like when I can retire, and that I haven't got to carry on working past 60 unless, I really, really want to. And it's about choice, about that financial choice. And that made her happier, so less worry and more happiness. And that's what financial planning can do. So we have different tools that I can use some of the tools that I mentioned, which is a cash flow management tool, but it's also the tools in our bag as advisors, knowing what is coming, knowing what kind of questions clients need to be thinking of now. But I've got a new toy that I'm going to be playing with very shortly, which is called Conquest. It's actually owned by Fidelity. It was developed by a Canadian company, and it has AI in it. Although my husband, who works in IT, tells me that artificial intelligence is not actually real. It's more like an algorithm. That's the way I can understand it. But this system is not so manual, so it actually will make suggestions for me. It's a little bit planned out and helps me along with different things. And I had another client this last week. Their circumstances are a bit more complicated. 3 young children. He works, she works, children in childcare. His salary is going to escalate over the next 5 years. And he basically, in 7, maybe 8 years' time, wants to then go consultancy work. He knows that he won't be able to carry on at that pace for more than 7 or 8 years. And he now wants to know, what should I be doing with this money that I'm earning so that it can allow me to have that lifestyle, my partner to have that lifestyle. Big mortgage, massive mortgage. So it's a case of, okay, do we clear the mortgage? How much of it do we clear? How much do we invest? And how do we do that in a tax efficient manner, allowing the fact that they're going to have an inheritance tax issue longer term, but they're younger. So, let's see what happens. Big plans for kids going to uni as well. So there's lots of products that were underlining in there and financial advice in terms of tax and those products. But what it comes back to was their plan. So I spent 2 hours with them talking about what they wanted that life to look like. Got copious notes of things they do want, what they don't want. And then what I will be doing is I'll be putting together a chart to show those milestones over their lifetime for both of them jointly. And then if they don't do anything or they carry on as they are, what will happen? And then actually with my input, what impact that will have. And that then leads on to advice. There are parts of elements I feel that there's overlaps into advice, which when you speak to an advisor with the right, qualifications up to date with the tax, etc., they're able to advise on things that may be traditional, non-regulated advisors, or no, wrong term. See, I'm even slipping up. Non-regulated individuals might not have the expertise for. So that's what financial planning is in a nutshell. And I know I might not explain this in like a super salesy way. I explain it as I am as a financial advisor. So I do it in, this is something I do day in and day out. So I hopefully it gives you a really clear picture on the conversations that people like myself are having, how it can help you. So it can build accountability, help you with your decision making, and allow less stress. So basically feeling happier about your finances. And that can be somebody as simple as, I know I need to plan for my retirement, or I want to plan for my retirement, but also I know that I want to retire. I want to semi-retire. I don't want to completely retire. A lot of people that run businesses, they don't actually want to completely retire, but they've got wealth in their business that they've now stopped spending it. And they now know they need to reallocate those assets in a more effective manner. Or it could be that you've got children, you may be buying a house, you're going to have some inheritance, there's some other investments in other places, and you just don't quite know how it all fits together. A bit like a puzzle, another analogy I'll finish on, a bit like a puzzle. You've got all these pieces and half the picture has been built up, lovely landscape, but actually the sunset is missing and you can't quite figure out how those last pieces come together. A financial plan can assist you in building exactly what that sunset looks like for you. Hope you've enjoyed today's session. Do please leave me a review and let me know, send me a message on whatever social platform you like to use, or email me and let me know you've left the review, because we don't get notified. Please do. That means that then not Amazon, what am I talking about? Edit that out. iTunes, then share it with more people. I'm nowhere on the charts. I'm not really bothered about the charts. If there's 10 people listening and you've enjoyed it, then I've done my job for the day. Sending you all lots of love and take care.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Accelerate Your Wealth. For further help or to connect with Rebecca directly, please head over to the website www.rebeccarobertson.co.uk, where you can find further information on our planner, book, and how to further maximise your wealth. Our sponsor, Evolution Financial Planning, for regulated advice on pensions, investments, mortgages, insurances on www.evolutionfinancialplanning.co.uk/podcast.